Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television Broadcasting, all the way from the Political Command Center in Africa. Good morning. I'm Dr. David Matanga, the host of this show, with my co-host, Miriam Ogutu, right from Nairobi. Good morning, Miriam.
Doc, a very good morning to you and good morning to our viewers.
And our panel, resident panel, led by Sharon Gitonga. Good morning, Sharon.
Very good morning to Dr. Matanga and my colleague panel, to all our viewers watching us in Kenya, Africa, and the entire globe.
Thank you very much, Sharon Gitonga, right from Nairobi, Kenya, and Daniel Wesonga. Good morning in the CBD of Nairobi. Good morning, Daniel Wesonga. Good morning, Tawish, all across the continent and in the Mara reserves of Kenya, the wonders of the world. Good morning, Samuel Tawish Laksana, all the way from the great land of Narok in Narok County. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. David Masanga. Good morning to Miriam Ogutu, Sharon Gitonga, as well as, of course, Sean Daniel Wesonga, and all our viewers watching this program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Daniel Wesonga. We want to hear your voice. Daniel Wesonga seemed to have gone for another assignment, but he will join us later on. Across, thank you very much. Over the weekend, we saw several developments taking place in Somalia. Two countries are fighting over the territory of Somalia. The United Arab Emirates and Qatar. They have brought their rivalry from the Gulf states or the Persian states, and they have exported or imported this on the African continent. Who is the beneficiary here in Somalia? Several countries on the African continent, including Kenya, Uganda, and Djibouti, Burundi, Ethiopia, have sent their armies into Somalia. Al-Shabaab continues to be a menace. Yesterday or the other day, it killed several people in Mogadishu near the airport. It continues to be the biggest threat to the region so far as peace is concerned in East and Central Africa and the whole Indian Ocean triangle. Viewers, this is a very grave matter for us all to be discussing how foreign countries come into Africa, find us peaceful, divide us because of the money. How external dark forces are manipulating Africa to make it a poorer country, to make it more poorer, that go down to the poverty rates of what we were in order to exploit our minerals, take them away, and use them in the metals of Europe and the metals of the Gulf states. The pattern seems to be enlarging day and day, each country trying to make sure that it takes a portion by portion across the continent of Africa. And this is a matter that for African Union and a matter for the presidents of Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Djibouti, and other states that are involved in the peacekeeping missions in Somalia. Are we safe with Somalia ever? A conflict since 1991, my panel, has never been, we have never seen the end, we shall not see the end. Are we safe? Can we say, are we safe? With such a conflict never ending, how sure are we that new partners that are fighting over Somalia might not be paying one side of the conflict for it not to end? This is our topic this morning. Good morning. Over to you, Miriam, to start us with the topic. Thank you.
All right, Doc, you started us off very well. Perhaps we should just have continued like that. But the latest from, Somalia, as already Doc has laid a very good foundation for our conversation this morning. Now we know that in December, President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, also known as leaders, to conclude parliamentary elections by February 25th, more than a year after it was originally planned. And we know that the Prime Minister of officials from the US, I think, have traveled, and they will be meeting to talk about Sudan and Ethiopia, and as well as Somalia, what is going in there in Somalia. So that is the latest political stuff, but also what we talked about yesterday, the money that UAE had brought into Somalia to pay the soldiers, which the government refused, so that is also a matter of contention, Doc.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Is it time to rearrange Somalia? Hasn't it come to a point where Africa must sit down and find a new strategy of rearranging and making sure that there is permanent peace in Somalia? Isn't it the time for the people of Somalia to take their own destiny in their own hands and clear off the terrorism that has been embedded in their country? Isn't it the time that the international community, United Nations Security Council, made the resolutions, made it very clear that Somalia has remained a sick child since 1991 for a long time? Isn't it the time, therefore, for us to find an exit strategy? Are we going to continue with the war in Somalia until God comes back to help us to reignite ourselves and bring back life in Somalia? Isn't it the time, therefore, for people to sit to say a fatigue evaluation of the exercise? Is it going well? How many people have we lost? Is it worth pumping in money? Isn't it the time, therefore, to rearrange Somalia? My answer to these questions, I say yes, it is the time to rearrange Somalia. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, Doc. Before I go to another panelist, perhaps for our viewers who are watching and have not heard you say this before, when you say rearrangement, what do you see this looking like for an effective, stable Somalia?
I would like a Somalia with a close border, a porous border with Kenya, being part of a peaceful country. I would like to see the Somalia that we want, which coexists in states of nations. I would like to see the Somalia which has dignity. I would like to see the sovereignty of Somalia respected with rearrangement, that there is a democracy, a pastoral democracy that is very difficult to maintain in all areas, like the way you see in the Sahara region. The entire Sahara region is pastoral democracy, media. And it is very difficult to curtail a pastoral democracy. It could rise against you. And I want to put a prediction here that people who might think I am wrong, one day you might find I'm the right man for you to listen to. Because what is going to happen in the long run, Miriam, Somalia is going to end up, the Somalis will rise up and turn us into killing bugs. They will kill us because they will say, we want you out of this country. The earlier we started planning our exit strategy, if we cannot rearrange Somalia in terms of putting roads, infrastructure in the Jubaland, for example, Kenya can start digging roads, infrastructure. Maybe one of the causes of terrorism is the place is not developed. The place has not seen development for a long time. That could be one of the causes why Somalia is still at war. Why don't we agree that Puntland is peaceful? Why is it that Puntland is peaceful and the rest of the regions are not peaceful? Isn't it the time for us as scholars to think of a strategy Who is this funding the people of Somalia to fight? Who is the beneficiary? Is it the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Is it United Arab Emirates? Is it Qatar? Is it Turkey? What is Turkey getting out of funding Somalia to continue to be a belligerent state within the states of Africa? Who is gaining? Is it the religion which is wrong? Miriam, I'm eating several things that go here.
Yes,
is it the religion that is wrong?
I want us to go because a lot of issues, Doc, that you're bringing up that are very, very important as far as the country of Somalia is concerned. But the rearrangement, before we
Yes.
get to the exit strategy, which I agree with you, Doc. It's
In this rearrangement, Miriam, you are right. In this rearrangement, you need to rearrange by partitioning Somalia. If that is the thing you are trying to tell me, I should say, or I had forgotten.
In states?
Yes, we partition
the regional states that already exist.
Yes, that exists, and I give them some autonomous states controlled by only foreign policy.
All right, Doc.
Yes, because if you give them some autonomous states controlled by only foreign policy and the defense policy, they will not be fighting. But at the moment now, everybody is coming from Europe and landing into Mogadishu to give aid with money. We don't have money that we should give. That money that was intercepted, that when it was going, we don't know what the money was going to do. The money was maybe was going to kill people. Maybe it was going to kill the president. Maybe it was going to kill the prime minister of Somalia. So if we partition Somalia and give them some autonomous states and start developing the states, we shall be the good people of Africa. At the moment, I don't think we are very good people of Africa. We are very wrong people because we are not giving Somali a solution. For example, look at why is there peace in Kismayo and there is no peace in Mogadishu? Why is there peace in Puntland, in Hargeisa, and there is no peace in Mogadishu? Why? Why? Why is there no peace in Baidoa? Why? Because the people handling peace in Kismayo are developing the area, are interacting with the locals, are building roads, are building. Kenya is building infrastructure in Jubaland, but we are not building infrastructure in Baidoa. We are not building infrastructure in Mogadishu. We are only building the city, but the environs, good English, the environs of Mogadishu are littered with terrorists waiting to come and hit us. Every good road we put is blown up. Every good thing we get is blown up. Why don't we change the strategy? Partition Somalia, rearrange Somalia, such that the same autonomous states can look for partners, but governed under a system which is controlling their foreign policy and defense policy. Then we develop the roads. We put in the roads, we put in infrastructure, we put in trade, we open up trade to eat the great Africa. Somalis are hardworking people. Why are we denying them the chance by saying we have a government in Mogadishu where MPs sit in hotels and just select a president? When will they have a national suffrage? That's why the president and the prime minister are fighting. And the political scientists will tell you what is the cause of the fight. Because these people have an elite group has sat, which knows English, which knows how to interpret a constitution. You are doing it like you have done the question of South Sudan in Allah, where you are not accountable. You have not accounted. That's why you see Riek Macha's SPLA Army 001 is escaping. Generals, captains, spokesmen are now surrendering and running back to the original SPLA because accountability was not there. Is there accountability? We have not done accountability in Somalia. We are just mixing. We are mixing things. So partitioning, Miriam, would bring in, if we, for example, gave Juba independence, the same autonomous state, and it looked for partners, it went down to see who can bring marines, who can bring fish, who can buy our fish, where can we sell our fish, it will develop the economy. And that economy will go to the Somalis. And then the state can give the money to the central government. The Ministry of Finance can be controlled by the central government. But the states will be functioning. There will be roads. Look at the factor of a place where communication is as bad as entering the kingdom of God. You know, it is very difficult to enter the kingdom of God because you must be holy, pure. You must be pure man or pure lady. So in Somalia, there are some areas where a road has never been there since. The only road that was there was since Siad Barre in 1991. So how will you administer such people? I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. A lot of issues that Doctor has brought into our attention, but I want to stay with the issue of rearrangement before we get to the exit strategy and of course the fatigue evaluation, which I think is very important. We need to take stock and see even the AMISOM, what were they set to achieve? Have they been able to achieve that? And what will be the way forward? But before we get to that, who should be responsible for this rearrangement as Doctor has put it forth? Is it the Somalis themselves who should decide? As we've seen, Somaliland has been pushing for it to be given, to be recognized as a country. And it's been pushing the international community that you've seen itself being engaged in shuttle diplomacy and things like that. So who should be responsible for this rearrangement of Somalia?
Thank you so much, Miriam, and thank you, Dr. Masanga, for the remarks you've made. Indeed, Miriam, the responsibility upon which Somalia can have a success story or a new story can be written on Somalia does not lie solely on an individual country, does not solely lie on Somalia alone. It is something that calls for a well-concerted effort. It is something that calls for our cooperation as a region. But you see that cooperation cannot come into place, cannot be successful, cannot rather be achieved if there is not a big paradigm shift in terms of policy intervention and the foreign diplomacy in Somalia. Because again, that is what has largely been the biggest impediment in as far as Somalia's relationship with the rest of the region is concerned. And it has been a major hurdle in as far as even the countries that have already continued to sacrifice in as far as stabilizing and bringing back peace to Somalia. So yes, I agree. It is something that needs to be done, but it cannot be done by Somalia alone. It is something that needs an effort and a contribution from all and sundry, including the rest of the African continent. But that cannot be done until Somalia gets to understand, gets to acknowledge and appreciate the contribution and sacrifices that the rest of the region has largely been contributing and as far as seeing Somalia get back to its footing. As far as I'm concerned, Miriam, and this far, indeed, all of us will acknowledge that Somalia has not yet gotten to the level of appreciating the contribution and these sacrifices that the rest of the African countries, particularly in the East African region, have been making. Look onto the financial aspect, look onto the human life that has been lost continually in Somalia, and so many of the challenges and the shortcomings that the rest of the African countries have been able to go through in bringing back Somalia to its footing. So I largely agree with Dr. Masanga that we need a restructuring, we need a reshaping, we need Somalia to get back to its true definition of that country. Just like he said, it's a country with the rich mineral resources. It's a country with, a very good manpower and potential for that matter. is a country that is actually well placed in terms of this region. But again, all those gains, all those blessings that Somalia finds itself with cannot be realized, cannot be tapped. The potential that it has cannot quite be exploited simply because of the contestation that is in Somalia. And I want to submit, Miriam, that for us to be able to achieve anything or to make any step in as far as this nation is concerned, we must first and foremost begin with, of course, making sure that that country has the right leadership. And the issue of autonomy that Dr. Masanga has spoken is something that we must put weight on in seeing how this can bring perhaps a new dawn in Somalia. Because again, all other past experiences and the past, of course, efforts that has been put in place appears really not to be bearing any fruit. You can ask yourself, Miriam, just like you've said, it is a topic we'll be discussing as we progress. How come that, what is it we intended to achieve? What was the objective, for example, of AMISOM going into Somalia? And what has made it difficult for us to be able to realize that achievement or the goal we had set ourselves in when we are getting into Somalia? It is because of this little political contestation, the disagreement, and I think the scramble for power in Somalia that has made it difficult this far. I submit, Miriam.
All right, and Tavish, before I go on to Sharon, there's something that you brought up, and I would like for you perhaps to clarify just further for a better understanding to our viewers. You've said we make sure that Somalia has a good leadership before we even start thinking about an exit plan. One, will that not look as if we are trying to interfere with how Somalia is running, as Somalia has already come out and accused even accused Kenya of external interference, and other countries, of course, that we know are really meandering in Somalia. And for that reason, the government has become very apprehensive and defensive in the manner even at which it's willing to cooperate with these countries to better build a stable Somalia. So, of course, in the leadership of Somalia, there has to be a political goodwill. So even these efforts coming from outside in trying to stabilize the country can actually work. So when you say we have to ensure, I mean, how do you see that working?
Well, not absolutely, Miriam, that maybe we will be as a region trying to interfere with the sovereignty that is Somalia. I not quite think so, because again, it is the responsibility of this region, the East Africa community, and by extension, the African continent, if not the whole world, to see Somalia first and foremost being at peace with itself, to see Somalia being stable. Because again, when Somalia is unstable, when Somalia is not at peace, when Somalia is continually in a never-ending war, Miriam, it is us, the neighboring countries, that actually bear the brunt of the infighting, of the instability, of the lack of peace in Somalia. And therefore, Somalia cannot purport to want to live as an island. They have to live with the rest of the community. They have to live with the rest of the continent. And that's why I'm saying they have to realign. They have to realign and have a shift in as far as their foreign policy is concerned. How are they relating with the rest of the region? How are they, what is their foreign diplomacy? What is their foreign policy in as far as relating with the rest of the continent is concerned? Because, Miriam, by the end of the day, assuming today AMISOM decides to pull out of Somalia, I mean suddenly so, what will befall of Somalia? As we understand this far, Miriam, much as AMISOM has made quite a progress in as far as stabilizing that nation is concerned, but a lot more really needs to be done. And that is why you see even the exit from Somalia has been extended to somewhere around 2028, because we needed to achieve the objective with which we set ourselves when we went into Somalia in the first place. But we cannot be able to achieve this really without that political goodwill coming from the leadership of that region. And if the leadership is a problem, because again, we know leadership and politics more often really but I would say chaos and violence, displacement of people, where people even become refugees in their own countries and sometimes even run away for their own safety. So the rest of the region still will have to bear these brands. So in that respect, therefore, Somalia has to admit and appreciate the fact that they cannot live as an island. They will need Kenya, they will need Uganda, they will need Rwanda, they will need Burundi, they will need rest of the region, really. So for them to be able to make any steps further in as far as their political leadership is concerned, and in as far as stabilizing this nation is concerned, and even when it comes to the economic development. Dr. Masanga has quite spoken about the issue of infrastructure. I mean, there's no infrastructure that should come from Somalia and end at the border. Just like Kenya, it goes to Tanzania, it goes to Uganda, and that is what neighborliness, good neighborliness is all about, Miriam. So I think that is what Somalia really needs to harness.
Okay, thank you so much. Very well said there, Samuel. And I hear you. Somalia needs everybody that is there and everybody that wishes to come, that is of goodwill, so that the country can be back to its feet again, and perhaps some semblance of stability can come back to Somalia and all these partners that are in there. Sharon, but to what extent should these partners go in an effort to try to stabilize Somalia and perhaps rearrange, as Doctor started by saying there earlier?
Thank you very much, Miriam, and of course to my colleague panelists that have spoken before me. And I largely agree with what Dr. Matsanga and Tawish has said over the need to rearrange and reassemble Somalia. And time was coming when Somalia actually needed help because the leadership in Somalia no longer inspires even the Somalis to be able to move further. I think to them democracy is an illusion, and that is why they are fighting. They are fighting hard for what they believe in. And Kenya has actually made so much sacrifices for Somalis. They have provided, humanitarian reliefs to the thousands of refugees that we still have here. Somalia has actually enjoyed and continue to enjoy, generous financial, diplomatic, and even military support from Kenya. If anything, Kenya's military actually extended their mission, even after being betrayed by Somalia, and continued to serve there, in a bid to restore normalcy for now 11 years. I remember, I think last year they were actually celebrating 10 years, but the political differences, and that is something I think Tawish has highlighted, and the kind of style of leadership, it is actually going to take time to see the restoration of normalcy there. And Tawish also asked a very important question about if today probably KDF and other AMISOM troops withdrawn, how is the state of, how is it going to be at the state of the nation? It is going to retrogress because, with the local forces, I do not think they really have the capability or the capacity, or even what kind of structures or systems have been put up, to see them actually being able to, to be able to be claimed now that they're at their feet and they can be able to, take up their task. And so there's a strong need to rearrange Somalia. And even if it means increasing the number of troops in the areas that have been, confined and subjugated by the Al-Shabaab. And Dr. Matsanga talked about how Uganda has already moved in DRC to bring down their 146 rebel groups to, in a bid to restore the kind of insanity. So I think it's a wake-up call to African different Africa head of state, beginning with Kenya, which has actually been ranked as the 11th most powerful force among Uganda, Ethiopia and others, because Somalia war is an African war. Whatever that is going to happen will spill over a humanitarian catastrophe to the Horn of Africa. So let's not look at this war as just as as a Somalia war, but as an Africa war. And as I conclude, I think the thing about peace, it is something that you cannot put any price tag to it, because when we have it, it actually looks cheap. But the moment we actually lose it, it is very expensive. The troops that are already there have sacrificed their blood for us. And I don't think there's anyone, would actually do such an ultimate sacrifice for the sake of peace and security. For them, I think this is something that we really do not have to overlook into, because I think peace is very important. And, it should be actually a collective responsibility to have peace, not just for us, but even for our generation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Daniel Wasonga, I don't know if you've joined us now. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Miriam Ogutu. And of course, our viewers who are watching us across the country and the rest of the world.
Okay, thank you. So now, I don't know if you had the submission Doc gave at the beginning of this conversation where he said perhaps one of the effective solutions for Somalia would be to divide that country. Already it has several states, that maybe we turn these states into countries. They said that will be very effective so everybody can take care of their own affairs, because we've seen how even the clan politics and all that have been at play, that are also part of the things that are contributing to a very unstable Somalia. But by creating several countries out of, the country of Somalia, will we not be opening a door for further external interference? Because perhaps now these other countries that have had interest and that have been part of the chaos, that have been inciting the chaos in Somalia now, they will be pitting, the countries against each other. So perhaps to not just have Somalia in these areas that are a bit unstable, but now they might want to start other problems from the rest of the states, and it will be a cycle of chaos and instability now in the bigger Horn of Africa countries. How do you think, getting more states from Somalia will solve this problem of insecurity and instability?
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, I agree 101% with Dr. Matsanga David that Somalia, first of all, must be rearranged. And in being rearranged, we must reinforce the semi-autonomous states and be able to embolden them. Because practically speaking, Miriam, when you look at a state such as Puntland or maybe Jubaland or Somaliland, these are states which, when you go there, you might not think that you are in Somalia. Just the other day, I was reading about the states of Puntland, and you realize that there is so much security in the state. And if you are maybe even rumored to be an Al-Shabaab or maybe a sea pirate, then you're gonna fall into trouble. No one in the city will actually tolerate having you around. And most of the administrators who are being interviewed in their main city were actually saying that if terrorists or maybe if pirates come into that town, they are actually either told to forced to reform, or if they do not want to reform, then they have to be ejected out of the city and banished, so that they go all the way to Mogadishu and do their dirty stuff there. Also, you realize that in such states such as Jubaland and Puntland, there is actually well-developed educational structures where students are able to go there, all male and female students, no discrimination, no Islamic law as maybe as per Mogadishu or maybe Al-Shabaab doctrines. All students have an accessibility to education, and they're actually learning American standard kind of education in those particular states. This is something that cannot happen in Mogadishu because they see Americans on the Western education as being infidels and all that. So to me, I believe whatever Dr. Matsanga is saying is very, very much correct. And basing also on the cultural basis of Somalia. Somalia is a country where the clan politics, the clan leadership is a very, very, very strong system of leadership everywhere you go. And therefore, these are people who are actually used to some kind of leadership which is fragmented. And therefore, that is why you see perhaps Puntland and Somaliland and Jubaland are more progressive than the rest of the country, because it is in tandem with their cultural way of leadership, where they majorly look at the clans. And if you can have these semi-autonomous states based on clans, we have highest chances of success in that these people will be able to agree on most fundamental fundamental issues in terms of leadership and all that. Number two, I think on matter whether to arrange Somalia or not to arrange, I believe I'll strongly support arranging Somalia. The reason being that if we do not arrange Somalia, then Al-Shabaab and other groups such as the pirates and all that are gonna arrange Kenya and other regional countries. We have seen that happen before, and that is what prompted President Mwai Kibaki to start the Operation Linda Inchi, which oversaw Kenyan troops getting into Somalia to be able to tackle piracy and the Al-Shabaab terror group. Sharon has talked about what Dr. Matsanga had talked earlier on about the Ugandan forces going into DRC to deal ruthlessly with the ADF and other militia groups. And you have seen whatever impact it has brought on board. Just a few days ago, Dr. Matsanga reported that they were able to capture a rebel leader, a commander of ISIS, who America had been unable to capture. You saw the other day, it took Rwanda to go and rearrange Mozambique, whatever was happening in Mozambique. And if not, maybe the step taken by Rwanda and the government of Mozambique and other South African countries to send the Rwandan troops there, perhaps that problem of terror from Al-Shabaab could have spiraled and spilled over into countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, and many other South African countries. So these are problems that need to be solved promptly. And you can only solve the problems in Somalia by actually being in Somalia. You cannot solve the problems in Somalia by holding meetings in Nairobi, in Kampala, and in Dar es Salaam. So to me, I believe we need to rearrange Somalia. And rearranging Somalia, like what Awish said, it starts by rearranging the leadership. We have thugs in Villa Somalia being led by President Mohamed Farmajo. These are person who has been derailing the steps which have been achieved by the previous regimes by fighting Al-Shabaab. But Mohamed Farmajo has been getting these Al-Shabaab commanders back into the military and into the police. He has been sharing intelligence gathered by the Kenyan military and other intelligence agencies with Al-Shabaab. That is, by doing so, they actually risk the lives of these soldiers who are there for the sole purpose of bringing peace into Somalia and all that. He has been doing illicit business with the likes of Qatar and all that. So to me, I believe that is where the rearrangement should start. First of all, dismantle this cartel in Villa Somalia, and then secondly, reinforce the semi-autonomous states and see whether it will work, because 70% of these semi-autonomous states have actually achieved 90% progress. Then why not replicate it across the country and see whether there will be peace and stability? You look at the country like Ethiopia, it has the same historical and cultural background as Somalia. And therefore, you've seen that Ethiopia, and not, if not for the recent war that happened, Ethiopia has been a very, very progressive country because it has federal states. Federal states are actually like the semi-autonomous states that we have in Somalia, if it is done right. So to me, I believe Somalia needs to be rearranged, and the only rearrangement is to allow the semi-autonomous states to proceed, because even when you look at the other side, the northern part of Somalia, we have the Ogaden region, which has been always been contested, whether it is in Ethiopia or in Somalia, and the people of Ogaden also perceive themselves as not being part of the bigger Somali mainland. So to me, I think that will be the best solution ever. But first of all, Farmajo must go, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. And speaking of Farmajo must go, as we wait for Doc to join us back, Samuel Tarish, the leadership in Somalia right now, starting from President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, also known as Farmajo, what do you say they're holding the country at ransom? The elections have been postponed several times now, even this one that has been scheduled to take place next month. You know, you still can't say it with surety. So are they holding the country ransom, perhaps for their own personal greedy, you know, reasons? Or how would you say, you know, they're leading this country?
You're absolutely correct, Miriam, on that, because again, what President Farmajo and the other leadership in Somalia has been doing really is holding this country hostage and her people. And that is why you see Somalia has not been able really to make any significant progress, something that is very, very unfortunate. Any leadership that comes into place must be able really to meet the desires and the aspirations of the people that have voted them into office. But what we have in Somalia is an exact opposite of what leadership should be. Because again, Farmajo seems to be really so much hungry for power. He's so much hungry to make wealth, really at the expense of making life easy and convenient for the people of Somalia. It has been very, very detrimental. And Miriam, I think we have gotten to a level where we must ask the leadership of that region really that they must do the right thing, whether they like it or not. You talk about sovereignty or not, but Miriam, there have come a time where these people have to genuinely decide to pursue peace and stability for Somalia. They have to genuinely ensure that stability and peace has returned back to Somalia. We need now to start writing success stories in Somalia, other than the destructive stories, other than the stories about killing, abductions, the killings about the butchering of innocent civilians. These are not stories we want really to make headlines in as far as Somalia is concerned. So we've gotten to a level where we must be asking these leaders to make genuine endeavor, genuine commitment, and the genuine political will really to put aside their selfish interests for the sake of the people of Somalia and for the sake of the unity of this region. Failure to which, Miriam, I think you've gotten to a level where these leaders must be forced really to work for the interests of the people of Somalia. We cannot sit as a region and continue to watch pretty when Somalia is continually on a destruction path. We cannot be very comfortable to see that the people of Somalia today cannot, most of them who are out and living in different parts of the country as refugees, that they continue to live in fear and anxiety and in panic because they cannot go back and rebuild their nation and even take their kids to school and normalize their lives. This is not a story that we want to continually write or hear about. So we've got to that level that a must thing to be done must be done, regardless of how the leadership of Somalia really feels, because that is why you see even they're trying to distance themselves from the entire region, because they feel like when you have a common agenda, a common purpose that is being pursued, say for example from the IGAD front or even the African Union, it will be very easy really to pursue these individuals to do that which is for the best interest of the people of Somalia. And that is why they are continually segregating and putting Somalia to appear like it is a country on an island, a country that can depend and work on its own. But again, Miriam, all those kinds of things haven't worked this far. The question then we must be asking ourselves, for how long are we going to comfortably sit and watch Somalia on a destruction path? Is it something that we are ready to continue watching and listening of these destructive stories, or is something that we can live up to the spirit of the founding fathers of this continent, of the individual countries, that we must pursue peace and stability regardless of what expenses we are going to incur? Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you. Sharon Gitonga, talk to me about the current leadership in Somalia and perhaps their attitude towards realizing a more stable and peaceful Somalia.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And of course, I agree exactly with what Tawish has said. And you realize that everything rises and falls under leadership. So the kind of leaders that we put in place will actually be a reflection of what, whether the country is meant to progress or retrogress. And for a leader like Farmajo, who I would term as, a madman holding the gun in the marketplace, it speaks so much about the kind of decisions that he had made. Look at the decisions that he has made before, even during the ruling of the ICJ, and even calling out, if you look at how he's also been, even calling out countries like Kenya, countries that have been there, for him and for Somali, even, what they call through thick and thin. And the kind of what you get in return is betrayal. Someone that is hungry for power and capitalism. I think any leader of good political will should have the interest of the people first at heart. No personal interest should ever supersede, the interest of the people that put you in office. And this is exactly when I look at what is happening in Somalia and the kind of leadership that is, that is there, is more or less likely to be of what we are seeing here in Kenya. And we've talked about the kind of leaders that we put in place, leaders that are, hungry of power, hungry, have capitalized everything. I think, first of all, the leadership of Farmajo is something that really needs to be called down. And I hope this also, inspires even Kenya leadership, because now we are also gearing up towards 2022 election. What, the kind of disagreements that we see even for leaders, I mean, personal interest should never, never at any point, dictate or compromise the delivery of the people. I think the people of Somali needs to have democracy. For them, it should never be an illusion, but it should be something that, come to fruition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Daniel Wesonga, talk to me about fatigue evaluation, especially for a country like Kenya. Is it about time perhaps we put a pause and we look at All right, so we've been in this for how long now? How much have you been able to achieve? And are we able to sustain our continued stay in Somalia? Fatigue evaluation.
Thank you, Miriam. And of course, when you talk about fatigue evaluation, we also have to realize that that fatigue evaluation could come with a bigger price. Maybe to our viewers, or maybe majority of Kenyans who don't know, is that our security forces, our agencies are never sleeping on the issue of Somalia. And because the issue of Somalia is just not a normal issue of any country in a crisis, but is intertwined on the matter or critical matter of terrorism. And that is why I believe the Kenyan government or the Kenyan security agencies cannot afford the luxury of maybe sitting back to conduct a fatigue evaluation, because the moment we withdraw KDF from Somalia, and at that time, maybe particularly, we do not have a very elaborate or maybe formidable Somalia Defense Forces, or maybe even the security, the police agencies are not well formidable. It means that they're gonna leave a leadership vacuum in Somalia. And whatever you know about nature causes vacuum. And if that vacuum has to occur, then it means Al-Shabaab is gonna fill up that vacuum. Number one possibility is, if that was to happen, we're gonna have increased bombings in Somalia, and probably from Mogadishu and the rest of Somalia. Al-Shabaab is gonna reclaim any areas or any places that are currently under the government of Somalia forces and the KDF and other AMISOM soldiers. Number two, we're gonna see again a spiral spike in increase of terror attacks in our cities here in Kenya, in Uganda, and other regional countries which are surrounding Somalia. So to me, I think this is something that needs, first of all, support from the Western countries, which are more concerned about terror. They need to support and embolden the Somalia military, so that if Kenya has to pull out, then the structures that are there in Somalia should be enough to guarantee the people of Somalia peace and tranquility, as well as also the Kenyan people and other East African countries, and also the global community, so that we do not have a scenario like what we had in Kabul. Actually, the reason why Afghanistan fell into crisis is because the Americans withdrew without making sure that the military that they left behind, the Afghanistan military, could actually be stable enough and formidable enough to take on the Taliban. We do not want such a scenario. And you saw the kind of mess they created in Afghanistan. For all those years, they do not take firm stands to train the Afghanistan military with the tactics and equip them with the equipment, the military equipment that will be able to take up their place will they withdraw from Afghanistan, so that they are able to combat Taliban and be able to beat them to submission. That is the same scenario that shouldn't happen in Somalia. And it could actually happen if Kenya was to withdraw the KDF today or tomorrow. So one thing is that we need to have capacity building in terms of military and intelligence and police, maybe training and all that for the Somali forces before we leave. But as it is right now, Miriam, Farmajo is a man who is on a path of destruction. He's not collaborating with Kenya. He's not collaborating with other East African countries. But whatever he's doing more is these useless squabbles and fightings that do not benefit the people of Somalia. So to me, maybe just to answer your question, I believe Kenya withdrawing and maybe doing a fatigue evaluation, it will be a very dangerous tactic, and it might have very bitter repercussions for both Kenya, Somalia, and the region and the global community in terms of terrorism.
Thank you so much, Doc. I see you're back, and I'd posed a question to Daniel about the fatigue evaluation, and should we pause and look at how far we've come with this war and what is our strategy moving forward? And Daniel said, no, we cannot afford a fatigue evaluation at this point in time. And so can't we really? Should we stop and perhaps go back to the drawing board?
When you go to a house, when you are eating and you are not liked, you continue staying there, and
you don't even wash your hands.
Yes, and you are not even allowed You are not even allowed to even eat. They even apportion the type of food to eat for you. They apportion it. You stay there, you live. The time has come for Africa to either. And I've said this elsewhere. Miriam, when we wanted Congo, and we want to be on the record here, we encouraged His Excellency President Museveni to go to Congo. We encourage East African states to help Congo. And we want to encourage African states to help Somalia. Instead of the two states from outside Africa coming in with their money, laundering their money, they have got money, plenty of it. They don't have elections. They tell us to have elections. United Arab Emirates has no elections. Qatar has no elections. Turkey, one man has been in power throughout. He has actually extended his livelihood. He's the one now coming to Africa to destroy the little that we had built. So for the Somalia case, believe me or not, time has come for, instead of doing piecemeal, the worst thing that you can do in political science is what we call perestroika. When the glass notes are not strong. I don't know, should I repeat that? The worst thing to do in political science is to do perestroika, which my friend Daniel is saying, fatigue evaluation is perestroika. Yes, if you do fatigue evaluation, after fatigue evaluation, what next? What next? Do you still say we stay or we go? The fatigue evaluation exercise must be accompanied with a plan of exit. Are we going to stay in this place forever? How long is it going to take for ISIS to get out of that place? What are the ripple effects? What economic benefit do we have? When driving from Garissa to Kismayo takes you two days on the way, dodging bombs, then what is the use of us staying longer? We need to have a road constructed from Garissa point up to Kismayo, a Tamaka road. These are the projects we should be looking at, so that now the Jubaland is linked directly to Nairobi. And then we need a road from Kismayo, Tamak to Mogadishu, so that the entire Somalia is Tamak, it becomes productive. Then we can, in conflict resolution, in my summary, conflict resolution, you need here, here, and here. You need the head, the heart, and the stomach. How many Somalis are eating today? Very few. The rest are not eating. Farimajo is living very lavish life. The other prime minister is also living lavish life. But the ordinary Somali in the region where Al-Shabaab is cutting their hands off and caning them, stoning them to death, are not living good life. So what do? Do we choose between those eating and those not eating? If you choose between those eating and not eating, the stomach must be given food. How many people think alike in Somalia? Almost the whole population. They think alike. They have unity of purpose with Azimio la Umoja. against anybody. Azimio la umoja iko Somalia kubwa sana. It's a very big azimio la umoja because they have one uniting factor, language. In Kenya, we have several languages. Why we have no good azimio la umoja? In Somalia, they speak only one language. So let's utilize that, the heart of one language, one religion, one culture. Then we use our head. I'm teaching conflict resolution now here. Use our heads. Give them the knowledge. De-radicalize Somalia by giving them the stomach. The youth in Somalia needs food. The youth in Somalia needs fishing boats. The youth in Somalia needs refrigerated containers. I'm teaching now here. Wake up, you people. The Chief of Defense Forces of Kenya read the same subject that I read. Dr. Kibicho, General Kibicho. Is it General? Yes. Correct me here, where Songa, you are, and Miriam, General. Not Kibicho, General, yes, the General, the Chief of Defense Forces. What's the name?
General Kibochi.
Kibochi. I'm very bad at the names at times, but not to forget the faces. That is a very good, is a well-educated guy on conflict resolution. He will tell you what Matsanga is speaking is correct. The stomach, people in Somalia need a stomach. When, you know, this young man cannot sit at the port, at Kismayo, at Mogadishu, watching Philippines, Asian trawlers. You get my point? Asian trawlers coming to collect their fish.
Sorry to interfere, Doc. Sorry to interfere. Yesterday, I had a chance to go through the AU website and the things that I was just curious to find out AMISOM and what they've been doing. And there are quite a lot of good projects they've been doing. They've been building roads. They've been building health facilities. They've been actually engaging in some other developmental agendas. Maybe perhaps AU does not do a good job in telling the rest of us what AMISOM is doing there. But actually, AMISOM is engaged in very good projects there to enrich and to enhance the lives of Somalis.
Which AU?
That's what I saw.
The same AU that is sending a thief called Obasanjo to be their envoy in Somalia. Is that the AU? Which road can you build with Obasanjo as a thief? If Obasanjo for 60 years has not given Nigerians electricity, he can give Somali electricity? Yeah, or Jamal, let's leave jokes alone. The people of Somalia need to move forward. The AU has a good website, but where are the roads? By now, we should have a Tomaka road reaching Garissa. The border, what is that border point? It took something like that, the border point where you enter Somalia, where they came and attacked at the border point. They should have a very big road of tarmac that is going all the way down to Kismayo. Then we can say, hallelujah, now things are moving. But we are not seeing what the AU has done. Kenya has done more than the AU. Because the Kenyans are building dispensaries, clinics, they are treating people, they are educating people, they are giving them facilities, they are helping communities to realize the potential of human beings. Ubuntu, not radicalized people, but good people who can live in the community of the world. Am I clear today? I woke up with the spirit of preaching, man. People who can live in the committee of the world, not a community, committee. We need such people, not radicalized youth. We need youth who can, what can you do to the youth? Miriam, you brought in that point. What we can do to the youth of Somalia is to give them boats. But we don't want to give them fishing boats without them bringing us to it. Each boat costs 250 AK-47s. I hope you are noting what I'm saying. One fishing boat costs 250 AK-47s. You tell the youth, show us where Al-Shabaab is with the guns, and we shall give you a boat. They will show you. Let me ask you, the people who plot to bomb Mogadishu, where do they stay? Then they come and stay in those hotels. Don't they? So they wake up and then tomorrow they live there and they go. No, they are among those people. So give the people incentives. To add on what Wesonga is saying, fatigue evaluation, yes, but after fatigue evaluation, what do you do with the report? You take it to website and they say we have built dispensary, roads. The election was free and fair, although there were skirmishes. Then later on you say, I don't want any head of state to go and recognize Kisekedi. This is what the AU website. Miriam, you were using which website? AU website. Hala, usiende huko tena. You will submit a wrong paper to your teacher. Because what is on AU website is not practicable. It's gone. It's rubbish. Somalia needs a new tactic, a new change. If you want to stay, it needs rearrangement. And the biggest rearrangement of Somalia is to start building infrastructure. You cannot have a neighbor who's sleeping in a shanty town in Kibera, and you keep on shouting on him every day. And then you think he will not come to break into your house. Surely, when you leave, it says, he has gone now. Let's go and collect the items. That's what Somalia is to Africa. And that's why the Gulf states are coming in fighting over money. Can anybody on the panel explain to me why Puntland is very peaceful? You have not explained to me why. Is Puntland very beautiful? The roads, have you ever gone to Hargeisa? I've been to the capital city, Hargeisa. Very beautiful place. You feel like drinking the Indian water direct under the Red Sea. No. There is, when you land in Hargeisa, there is civilization. When you land in Mogadishu, there is chaos in your heart. In fact, you want to finish the business you came to do and leave quickly. But in Hargeisa, for us who venture to go out and listen to music, Arabic music, and maybe look at the other items that are scattered around Hargeisa, it's a very good capital. I know Miriam cannot look at me at this hour, but that is what happens. The nightlife time in Hargeisa is very good. Nightlife time is a good place where you can sit, where you can drink your coffee. They have that Arabic, the Ethiopian type of drink. And probably when you sleep in your hotel, you can also have guests. It's normal. That is what tourism is. You can't say you have gone for, I have gone to Mauritius. But Mauritius has tourism. You come back without having any talked to any Mauritius person to give you even a telephone number. Then you did not go for tourism. You just went for depression. I don't know whether Tawish and Daniel and Sharon, we are on the same. Tourism is visiting to be happy. In Hargeisa, you are happy. In Mogadishu, you can't be happy. In Kismayu, you can sleep, but one heart is in the ocean, the other one is about to see the flight tomorrow. But there's stability. Kenyans are there, Ugandans are there, they are doing business. But you are not comfortable like Hargeisa. Hargeisa, the capital city of Puntland, is very, very, very peaceful. And also the night time is fantastic, Miriam, fantastic. Thank you. I don't know, either Miriam is switching off to laugh, or, but I'm telling the truth, Mr. Daniel and Sharon. Sharon, have you ever been to Hargeisa?
Not really.
Yeah, don't you think you need more information about Hargeisa? I encourage you to go there one of these days to see how it looks like. It's one of the best places. Miriam, you got the Hargeisa now? It's a very good capital city, relative peace, peaceful. So why is it that the Somali in Hargeisa are peaceful and the one in Mogadishu are violent? Those are the things we should assess and find an exit. Why is it that the Dinka are more violent than the Nur? There's the Nur and the Dinka. Who is more violent, Miriam? Were they born savages? They kill each other every day. Even now, when you put them together, you see, Riak, when Salva Kiir called Riak went with a pistol, and Salva Kiir also put on a pistol. You saw the story. So look at these people. What are these people we should live with in Africa? Are these the leaders we should have, Miriam? They both they were ready, you know. And in fact, I had forgotten to ask Dr. Riak. I'm gonna ring him today as I finish this show. I want to ask him, why did you go with a pistol? You saw Salva Kiir was telling us that he saw Riak was armed. So these are some of the things that worry me in Africa, my dear sister. Why Hargeisa is not armed? Down Hargeisa in Mogadishu, voila, you can't have sleep. I have a sister there who does not sleep. She only, when she flies into Nairobi, and you watch her sleeping in the bedroom, you think she's sleeping somewhere near the heavens. Because the sleep has just come, the one of the all years she has been working for UN. So my sister, this is serious.
Your sister sounds like she needs to see a doctor if that is how she sleeps.
No, not because, and she's thinner than me. So you can't say.
If that is the sound, that is the sound she makes.
The sound of horror comes from big people like us, which I don't have anymore.
They need to see a doctor.
No, I used to have it, but not anymore. I don't.
No, even smaller people.
No, but for her, she has
there's a certain noise. Yeah, if you make too much of that that means there's something wrong with your either lungs or something.
No, she doesn't make too much of that. Hers is peaceful sleep.
Let's say it like that.
Yeah, peaceful sleep. Because she has found peace. In Mogadishu, she sleeps with one eye out.
Well, when you sleep with one eye out, you're worried. So let's just say she sleeps like a baby.
A baby, and she has depression when she's in Mogadishu.
Okay.
So that is in a summary. There is need to rearrange Somalia.
All right.
As I said from the beginning, the world must look at strategies of rearranging. I agree with Wesonga. I agree with Sharon. I agree with Tawish that enough is enough. For us, we have done our best. But what else? Are we going to stay in Somalia forever? Ugandan soldiers could be better, plowing another farm to export maize. By the way, do you know now Uganda is the highest exporter of maize in the region? Why? Uganda People's Defense Forces have farms. They dig farms, real farms. I'm telling you, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, they have mechanized themselves. Museveni has given them tractors. They are doing a good job. We don't want our soldiers to stay and waste time in Mogadishu.
They should come and take over these dams that we need for sustainable water and food security. We actually need our soldiers.
For example, look at the Kenya Defense Forces. They are doing a great job. Go to Kisumu. You will see the army men are busy from morning up to evening. Africa needs such armies, not armies that are there to overthrow governments and then cause the Pol Pot of Africa, like the Dr. Abiy Ahmed, the Pol Pot of Africa, the Pol Pot of Kampuchea, killing Tigrays, suffocating them to death. I'm not going to give up. I will call him out until he stops suffocating Tigray people. Cutting them off, there is no food they are getting. There is no medicine. Disease is killing people in the camps. Don't you cry tears? What is genocide? Can't you label it as a genocide? Why is the world watching when Tigray want medicine just for malaria and they cannot get it? Why? And I should keep quiet. Zenawi is gone. Zenawi was my friend. I worked with Zenawi. I should cry for the people of Tigray. And that the Pol Pot of Africa called Dr. Ahmed Abe, who is being paid by Turkey to kill his own people. The meeting in AU should be snubbed. African leaders should be on the virtual Zoom like this. Let them not go to Addis Ababa. The rebels are 20 kilometers away from Addis Ababa. Walai, you go. You go. You go. Heads of state flying. Yeah, don't blame that you are not warned. I'm American, that there is American, what do they do? Adversary. Wesonga, what is it called? An adversary note. What is it called?
An advisory.
Advisory note, Miriam. What is wrong with you now? I can see you. I can see what you are trying to do.
What is wrong with me? I'm not the one who said adversary, Doc.
No advisory note. I was mixing with adversary. There is also advisory note, but yes, there is advisory note.
Advisory. So.
Advisory. We Ugandans say sorry, not you Kenyans. For example, you Kenyans, you say determined. Ugandans say determined. Am I wrong, Wesonga?
Very true. Actually, you
come
realize
from the border, Kenyans say determined.
Yeah.
If you went to London and you said determined, they will say, The Miriam never said that. Determined. I am determined to do this PhD for my international relations. Allah, Professor, to switch you off. The word is determined. Determined. But people here say, there's that guy in Kisumu who teaches English. I wouldn't like to meet such a man. I will be getting 0.
It's called Willis.
But if we start writing, he cannot beat me. But yes, my friend, Wesonga, Tawish, tell this Miriam, This Miriam is joking with me. I'm bad news.
You know your art, Doc.
No, tell Miriam, because you see the way Miriam these days laughs at me. If she doesn't know, I'm deadly on Shakespearean English. I am bad news. Writing. If they give me to write about you, the Natembea will come. Natembea will just come with evidence. My writing is tight, watertight. I don't leave gaps, watertight, to make sure that even if, like now, I told you that Itumbi missed one thing. You cannot be have broken legs, then walk towards. For example, the panel, you cannot have broken legs, then you walk towards a car. How do you walk there? No, let the panel right now tell me. This is like in Somalia. You tell me you want peace in Somalia, but you cannot afford to sustain the peace. How do we leave you with peace when you are useless? Tumbi said he had broken legs. So how did he walk to the car, to enter a car when the legs are broken? So that's why I asked the panel here today, what is the difference between a sprain and to be sprained and a fractured?
Exactly.
I say that I don't know the meaning. Wesonga.
Yes, exactly, Dr. Matsanga. And if he was, maybe he had fractured limbs, he would have found somewhere sleeping. That is what we have seen with people who are found with broken limbs or even hands. You can't walk with that in that scenario. And also another surprising thing is that someone who has been beaten, broken, body parts broken, the first thing you request is not water, but Fanta orange. You know, it really doesn't add up.
You request for Fanta orange, which increases sugar. How? When your sugar is already in chaos, is high, you will collapse your heart. There are so many things that you can add up and then call it a day. Anyhow, Somalia must be rearranged. Somalia must be reassembled. We must put in infrastructure development in areas after either giving them a same autonomous state or states on themselves, like a Hagesia, a city, which has a very brilliant night, Rio night, medium, Rio night in Hagesia. Don't remind me of that, please. I would wish I would fly there. Thank you very much. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Doc. That is where we end our conversation this
But by the way, before you end, tomorrow we have a live coverage interview, live coverage from Abuja, the Abuja Supreme Court, yes, where we have a correspondent who is going to cover the case, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu. All international agencies are gone there. We have also our correspondent who has been working with with Al Jazeera. He is now going to be working with Punchline Africa TV. He is in Abuja and is going to give us a live coverage of the determination by the Supreme Court of Nigeria as to whether Mr. Nnamdi Kanu can be released on bail pending the trial, yes or not. So tomorrow, it will be a hot day. We shall be asking questions. And it is very important for Kenya's international relations, for the Kenyan government to monitor that case, because it is where they are going to see the lies, where the lies are, where did they come from? Because we are not, all of us have no clue of what happened. So tomorrow, right from 11 o'clock, Miriam, we shall start with our morning, Good Morning Africa. Kenya at a glance with Africa at a glance. Yes, this topic hasn't it changed our mind? Good morning. It has. You are doing it very well. You pick up the topics. We are doing great job. But tomorrow, the entire world, the globe, the Africa, the Biafrans, tune in Punchline Africa TV in huge numbers to listen to our analysis of the case coming right from Abuja, Nigeria, live. Wow, what a show. There you are. This station, therefore, is for Africa, by Africa, with Africa. Ciao. Ciao.